Bring it on.
Boom.
Check it out. Oh dear, people, anyone watching this, anyone watching this online is going to have really missed out on the conversation. I think I'm going to keep it in the podcast version, but it's not going to be in the video versions. So there's going to be a little bit of surprise.
We're talking a little bit about insults.
Insults, yeah, we had a nice little conversation about insults. So
and me and G have a
Eva, how are you?
Hi Eva.
She's in Aberdeen.
Yeah.
Aberdeen in Scotland, because all my students go to Scotland because it's just so cool.
Because they want to get away from you.
Actually, I'm not joking. I'm not joking. Actually, everyone is going to Scotland.
Of course they are. Of course they are. I mean, wouldn't you?
Me?
For the weather, if not for anything else.
I'm trying to get away from the place.
You are away from the place, G.
I know I am away from the place. I got to check the.
I actually like Scotland. I wouldn't mind going there.
You
know?
Okay.
Especially for the winter.
Okay, so the audio works there. Okay, so we're streaming on Facebook. The Facebook audio is up and direct. I'm going to check the YouTube audio to check that we're going out on YouTube Live.
Hi YouTube. Oh sorry, I wasn't talking. I didn't say anything.
Yes. There we go.
I was focusing on your waves.
You have to keep. You're not saying anything at all.
I am saying things now.
Okay, there we go. Right, super cool. So the first 2 minutes is all checking the streams and make sure that everything's going out okay. Yes.
Well done.
Thank you very much. Right. I don't know where to go after the dictionary of etymology because it's such a great resource.
Well, sticks and stones, sticks and stones, right? I mean, we were talking about people live. All the live people
as opposed to the dead ones.
Yes. All those live people that are watching us live through Facebook or YouTube have missed out on our missed out on our conversation about insults.
Insults. We had a nice little discussion. We did.
Yes.
We did. I enjoyed it.
And I think it's important to talk about that in parenting as well. You know, and because we actually we talked about it before, didn't we? About the labeling.
You did, because it's really important to you, and because I label everything all the time because it helps me feel better. It is
very important to me. Yes, you're right. I think it's important that kids learn how to make fun of themselves, how to not take themselves too seriously. So I think
did we do an introduction?
No.
Welcome to the practical, peaceful, positive parenting podcast.
Yes, the P. How many P's were there?
Quite a lot.
Yeah. So can I?
Not as many as that.
Can I continue?
Please do.
Yeah. So I think that it's okay to jokingly call people names sometimes if you're making fun, but you have to make sure that the child is making fun as well, right? That they're not actually taking it in.
Hey,
and
Scrooge.
I think that not only it should be
hey,
done that.
Duck features, come here.
I don't think that should be only in the relationship, towards the children, but I think that we should model that as well. So I don't think
we should model labeling.
Unlabeling, not labeling. We should model.
How will they know
basic respect?
How will they know what labeling is if we don't use it?
Ta-da! Ta-da! Yeah, that was genius. It was like, how will they know what's physical violence if we don't use it, right?
Yeah, I know. It was deliberately put in there as a fallacy.
Funny thing.
No, it was just put in there as a false argument to make the point of what a false argument is.
Well, the point is, it doesn't make sense to say that.
Yes, how will my son grow up to be big and strong if I don't beat the shit out of him?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. So. I think we should model that. I mean, you can't teach your children respect and not model respect. And it's not respectful when you call people names, right? I mean, it's the opposite of respect.
Yeah, I agree with you. Keep talking, because I'm doing a little bit of an experiment.
As much as it is important to be honest Okay, because I know that you value honesty a lot, above all, almost.
You have to value. Everything begins with an honest conversation.
Yes, absolutely, and honesty is extremely important in relationships, because if you're not honest, then you don't.
Oh no! It started, and there's no way to turn it off. And all I wanted to do was copy the URL. Sorry. Well, what I wanted to do was copy the URL. From the Facebook onto other pages so other people could see it, right? And you know how when you always start Facebook, the volume was off? The videos. Well, guess what happened?
It was on.
The one and only time
you need it to be off.
That we're doing a live broadcast, and I think, okay, the volume is always off when you click on the video, it turns on. The one and only time. It's like the great God of technology has really he's got a picture of me on his wall, and he's thinking, oh look, that guy's torching it with a flamethrower.
No, he's looking at it and he's thinking, oh look, that guy's doing really well. Let's challenge him some more and see what he can do.
You know what I'm talking about, though. The volume is always off when you click on a video for the first time, right? And that was the first time ever that I clicked on a video and the volume came on full, right? And it was the one time that I needed it to come on with no volume, right? Isn't that bizarre?
No.
Well, no, I'm gonna.
Why do you think people came up with Murphy's laws? Because it happens all the time to everybody.
I'll give you another Murphy's law, right?
Yes.
I want to talk about what you're talking about. I want to talk about the labeling stuff, but I need to get this out there, right? So last night I was
sleeping.
No. I set up the games for Will so that we could stream the computer game, right? Yeah. So that he'd be in one room and I'd be in the other room and we'd be playing the game against each other, right? And of course I didn't think it was going to work, but it did, which it's all that experimentation with technology. So we were playing live together on the internet, streaming through two different computers from different places, and everything worked perfectly, and there was not one single problem after I got everything set up, of course. And yet, if I want to open a second tab on the browser on my computer,
it freezes for 5 minutes.
It freezes for 5 minutes, yeah. Or if I want to watch something on YouTube, the whole computer crashes. Or if I want to watch something on Facebook, that crashes as well. Or it won't let me open my Gmails. Yeah. But if I want to stream a game across the internet,
it works.
It's absolutely flawless. Somebody somewhere, please explain to me why I can stream any game from a shitty little old computer onto the internet absolutely perfectly, but when I try to do any productive work on my computer,
what's up, darling?
The thing crashes completely.
Yeah.
Somebody forgot. There's no raisins in the bowl, darling. Is that what you're saying? Will, could you get some raisins for your sister, please?
They're on the bench, the back of the bench in the kitchen.
Will.
Will's playing in his room now.
Will. Somebody forgot to close the gate.
Will's playing in his room and he's got his door closed, so he can't hear you. So I'm going to have to go and do that.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
No, you're not. We can do this. Zora.
She won't be able to reach.
Zora. Wait for this. Zora, could you go and knock on the bedroom door, please, and go in and ask Will to get some raisins for Jazzy?
Tell him they're on the bench in the kitchen.
Right. Okay. I know that she won't be able to reach, but I can ask her to ask him.
Okay.
A process.
We'll see if that works. Will's probably good just so that he can't see them.
I've mapped out a process. Except that
she forgot what to do and Jasmine is going to do it.
Except that Zora went completely the wrong way.
Yeah.
The greatest plans of mice and men.
She wants to do it herself.
Yeah. Well, anyway, chaos ensues.
William! Can you come here, please?
He's reading his horrible histories, no?
I think he's playing.
That's why he closes the door, right? So that he thinks that we don't know he's playing the games.
Well, can you help us, please?
Sneaky.
There are some raisins at the back of the kitchen bench. On the bench in the kitchen, All the way to the back. There's a bag, and there's a little bit of raisins left in the bag. Can you get the bag, because the girls can't reach it, and can you pour it into the girls' bowl, or bowls? I don't know if they have 2 or 1 now. Thank you.
Right. So, yeah, I just wanted to get that out about the technology. Not only did it sabotage what I wanted to do here, it sabotages my... You told them exactly where the raisins were.
Yes.
How can you not...
It does exactly what you do.
What? What do you mean he does what I do? But he's cool. Well, what you're saying is cool, right?
You ask where things are, even though they don't move, right?
Or
whether we have something. Like you come in and you say, do we have any milk? And the milk is there, right? But you still ask. You do that sometimes, not every time, but you
That's
do
because
that
there's usually 3 bottles of milk, cartons of milk, whatever, out of the fridge, and I have to walk around picking them up to see which one has got milk in it. Then I have to decide which one is the coldest, has been out of the fridge for the least amount of time. Then I have to put the other ones back, and then I get all confused, and then sometimes I end up putting the empty cartons back in the fridge. Am I boring you? There.
No.
Is that no? That's no. That means yes.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, that's no. That means
I'm
yes.
sorry for boring, but I just wanted to get that thing about the technology off my chest. It is ridiculous. All I wanted to do was share the live video.
Yeah.
And it didn't. And not only that. Let me get this out. The volume control didn't appear.
No.
No, the volume control didn't appear. So there was no way to turn the volume off. Somebody somewhere is
yeah, that's the great god of internet is sitting on his cloud up there in the sky and laughing at you. He's laughing his pants off.
He's sitting on me, that's for sure. That's really he's getting on my tits, right? Oh, I'm not
you
supposed
don't
to.
have tits.
What's that?
That's skin.
Oh. Okay. Right. Okay. Nipple.
Right. Yeah, I was saying.
If you're watching this on Facebook, please like or share or give us a heart. Or
as much as
what's a question?
My point of view, okay.
Type.
You know my point of view. My point of view is that
about parenting.
As much as honesty is
the best policy.
Important.
The best policy.
Shut up. As much as honesty, I'm sorry, I'm being very disrespectful, but you keep jumping into what I'm saying, and that's not very respectful either. So as much as honesty is very important in relationships, I think that person should be willing to put enough effort into the communication to show respect, apart from being honest, because you can be honest respectfully. You don't have to swear and insult and
salt.
Just be mean, basically. You can still be honest, and you can still do it with
ridiculous
respect.
Statement. You don't have to be mean.
You don't have to be mean. You can be kind.
Yeah, to the point where you're also laid back so far that your
you don't have
head
to be
touches your ankles.
You don't have to be laid back. I'm not talking about being laid back or letting something slide. You can still be
let things slide.
You can still be very particular about things, but you don't have to call people imbeciles while doing that, right?
I can be particular.
Yes.
Okay.
You can still be firm, just like in bringing up kids, right? I mean, you don't have to yell and spank them to have some discipline, but you can still be firm in a kind way, right?
What is that image? Just
What?
The image of someone yelling and spanking just seems so alien. Because it's apart from the fact because it's done by aliens.
Yeah, but I don't know. But that's your own thing. But do you get my point at all? Am I getting through at all?
I'm not sure what point you're making.
I'm making the point that you can still be firm about your and honest about your views without having to be disrespectful.
Naturally, yes. That would be the power of debate, the power of language.
Yeah, so I think it's, it requires more mental work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it requires some kind of emotional self-control.
Okay.
But saying that, I don't do that because I'm honest, I think that's just an excuse.
Can I lean on your shoulder?
Yes, of course. You can lean on me anytime.
Cue song. There we go. Right. I want to talk about speech, actually. I want to talk about talking. Because there's we can go somewhere with this. We can go somewhere with this, definitely.
I'm not sure whether we can.
Oh, you want to get all physical? Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to have a slandering match like those rap battles where they try to make each other look like tree monkeys or something.
What?
They just make each other look imbecilic.
We could have this discussion in a third person singular, right? Like, one should do this and one should do that, and we could mean it all personal, and we could actually be talking to each other. Like, I think that one should. I think that one should be more
after
respectful
two.
to
Two should be after three.
To his partner, because I think that's good role modeling.
I agree with that. Yes, I was boating on the lake with Cameron the other day, and we were talking about the very same thing. Would you believe it? And then he opened the hamper and pulled out the shampoos, and away we were.
I love the way you avoid.
Avoid.
I love the way you just avoid things that you're uncomfortable with. Okay, so
yes, I want to.
You wanted to change the topic, obviously.
No, I didn't. Because we were talking about speech and speaking and language, but I do have a story.
Okay.
I do have a story.
Go on.
From today, because I have to share.
Mm-hmm.
I have to share. So I was at the pool doing my lengths.
As you do.
As you do, and except I wasn't doing lengths, I was doing widths.
No,
widths.
You can't do widths.
You can.
You can't, because you're going against the grain.
There's no grain. There's no grain in the pool.
You're gonna have people crashing into you if you go that way instead of that way, right? Because everybody's swimming that way, and if you swim that way, you're gonna have people going, "Are you crazy? This is not the way."
I once crashed into somebody like that, and I asked them, "Are you okay?" And they looked at me like I was completely insane. So
and you came to me like a week ago, and you were like, "I don't get it. All these people who decide to swim in the 90 degrees."
All right, you don't know what I'm talking about, right? Because you're gonna look a bit silly when you.
Am I?
Yeah. No,
I don't know. You were swimming widths instead of lengths.
Yeah, because during the week,
yes,
when the school kids are in the pool, they divide the pool in half, and they force everyone to swim widths.
Oh, so everybody was swimming widths.
Yes.
How many widths did you swim?
80.
So you didn't have people crashing into you?
Well, no, because everyone was swimming widths.
How boring.
Can you imagine how stupid it would be if you had half the people doing lengths and the other half doing...
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking you were doing.
Yes, well, I didn't get to the point, did I? Because you jumped in. No, you don't. Oh, I thought he said he needs a bowl. He said
he made a bow. It's a beautiful bow, darling.
Bow. Where's the arrow? So I did my widths, and finally after 2 weeks of the sauna not working, they fixed it. So I jumped in the sauna for 5 minutes, and this old guy comes in, and just overweight, grossly overweight. And so overweight that you can't actually really sit down in the sauna, right? You've got to sort of climb up on the step to sit down. Yeah. And he's so kind of overweight, he can't really get up on the step to sit down. And he hauls himself up and sits down, and just sitting there. And
so he could sit down.
Well, he got there eventually. It was a bit of a kind of effort for him to climb up. You know?
Okay.
You know, it was like maybe the last thing he'd ever do, and I had no idea how he got down after he got up. But anyway, and then after him, in comes this woman. She comes in and sits down next to him, and she's like, "Oh, hi, how are you? Still doing all the fitness, still doing all the exercise, still doing all the things." It's all in Slovak, of course.
She was talking to him, to the guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, oh, tak stále robíte sportovní věci a all that stuff, right?
Yeah, I understand English.
But I have to do the Slovak thing because it was the way she said it in Slovak.
Oh, right, okay.
And the guy's like, no, jsem byl v Košice, na majstrovství.
I was in Košice.
I was at the World Championship in Košice, and I was competing, and
yes.
And I was sitting there thinking, what sport can have this guy competing at? This guy was about 65, grossly overweight, could hardly move, and he was like, "Yes, I've just come back from the World Championships."
Chess?
But in sport, they were talking about sport. Like, are you still doing all the sport stuff?
Chess?
So chess is not a sport. Chess is a recreational activity.
You know, that's quite funny because I don't know, obviously, because I've never been.
I was sitting there puzzled by. I wonder what it could be.
I know that. You know the taekwondo that we went to with Will and Zvolen for a while. We've been there about twice. The guy that ran the group. He was very much overweight as well. He was like really, really big, and
like meaning fat. He was fat.
And he trained these people, and he showed them the kicks, and he showed them the punches and everything.
Okay.
And he was about, I don't know, between 55 and 60, right? He had quite a big belly in front of him, right?
Kind of beer belly kind of thing going on.
Yeah. And when he was showing them the kicks, he would still kick his leg up all the way up to his freaking ear.
I'm trying not to do the actual kick.
Right? I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that. The guy was actually fitter than me.
Some fat people are
he was strong.
Unbelievably flexible.
He was strong and he was flexible. He sweated a lot and he is slightly out of breath, but other than that, he was much fitter than me. You know?
Yeah.
So you don't know.
I had a client who was
he was much older
and much
and
teacher in martial arts, and he was fat, and that always confused me, like how you could be a teacher and be out. How could you be a teacher in martial arts and be out of shape? That confused me, because isn't the whole martial art about, practicing the art and
about self-discipline? A lot about self-discipline, isn't it? I mean, I've watched this movie about sugar. I can't remember what it's called. There's a lot of them. The Sugar movie, probably. And there was a guy who was kind of running the show, and he said that he talked to the people that were he had these overweight people that cut out sugar, and then they watched their progress and everything, and he was like, okay, well, everybody tells to the overweight people, it's your choice. You're not exercising enough. You're eating too much. Yada yada yada. And the point of the movie was that the people thought they were eating healthy, but they didn't know about all the sugar that they have been eating. So obviously some of them did eat sweets and I don't know, obvious things, but they pointed out the hidden sugars that you don't know about, especially in the processed food, like sauces, ketchup, for example. Alcohol, right, is sugar, and people don't know that, right? So unless you actually eat really clean food, like not processed at all, you have a high probability of having sugar everywhere. I bought bacon in Scotland.
food is full of...
Gee, I bought bacon in Scotland with sugar. Okay?
What? Bacon with sugar?
Bacon with sugar.
Sugar in the bacon.
I swear to everything that there is to swear to. I took 2 packets of bacon.
How did you know?
There's a sliced bacon.
How did you know there was sugar in the bacon?
Because I took 2 packets of bacon. One was the Tesco Finest super expensive one, and one was a cheaper one. Okay? And I turned them around to see if I can see any differences in them. You know, I was expecting the cheaper one to be shitty and the good one to be good, right?
Okay.
And I found out that the difference, one of the differences was that the expensive bacon had extra sugar added to it, whereas the cheap bacon didn't.
The expensive bacon has extra sugar.
So what they are doing is basically, because sugar is
everything.
Because sugar is a drug, right?
Just like the brain on cocaine.
Because it's the cocaine for the brain. Because it's the drug. They put it on the expensive stuff. You know. You get the expensive stuff next time, because you eat the cheap bacon, you get the expensive bacon, and because there is sugar in expensive bacon, your brain's like, hey, Christmas, right? So obviously you're gonna say, hey, the expensive stuff is better because hey, Christmas, and I'm gonna get it next time too. But it's actually not. So if they add sugar to bacon, it's not just about cheap and expensive. I'm not saying that cheap is better. The thing is that you have to look everywhere, because if they put sugar in meat, they put it everywhere. Okay, so you have to look. Always have to look at the back. So the point of this movie was, you know, those people were like, okay, they told us to cut out sugar, and WHO says that we should only have the equivalent of 6 teaspoonfuls of sugar per day, right? So they cut out all the sweets, and they cut out all the cakes, and they cut out all the...
60?
6.
So 6.
6. And they cut out all the sweet drinks, and they thought, we're fine.
Okay.
So they ate what they considered to be healthy and sugarless all day, and then this person came and measured the content of sugar in what they ate and told them, hello, you just ate like 20, right, instead of 6.
So they ate more. Because they had more when they tried to cut out sugar. They ended up with more sugar.
They didn't end up with more sugar. They would go from 50 spoonfuls to say 15. Okay, I don't remember the exact numbers.
Right.
But they thought they weren't eating any sugar at all. Okay, they thought the only sugar that they ate was in the fruit, or whatever. And they found out that they were actually eating sugar even though they thought that they didn't. Right. So. The point of that movie was that even when people...
There's a lot of great health movies like that.
Yeah, even when people, you know, do exercise and eat healthy, or what they consider healthy, they may actually not be eating healthy without knowing about it. And they didn't make this point in the movie, but it's a point that I make, is that they might not have been doing the right type of exercise to lose weight. Okay, because if you, for example, if you do like a long stretches of cardio, it doesn't burn as much calories as if you do a short stretches of high intensity interval training, right?
It does, and to add to that, it doesn't matter how much exercise you do. If you don't eat right. If you don't eat right. Eating food is the 80%, right? So and exercise is 20 or something. What was I eating at the beginning of the live show today? What was I eating? Onions. Raw onions.
I can still smell it. People can probably smell it through their computers. It's pretty powerful. Just have a sniff, people, and you'll probably find out that your computers are kind of giving out this weird oniony stench.
No, we don't want technology to develop to that point. No. We don't want the smells coming through the computer. I'm not sure that I want people at the other side to have a 360-degree camera so that they can see
what's behind
over there. Yeah.
I know. Nothing. It's just the Jasmine took all the cushions off the sofa and made a little cushion trail, and then played around with them.
And then said, "Don't stand on the
yes,
cushions."
and then you weren't supposed to stand on them. Yeah.
She made a path, but you can't stand on the path.
So it looks untidy, but it's not too bad actually. I mean, given that I've been working all freaking day and I didn't have time to properly do anything else other than work and
You've
teach.
put the picture up very nicely, though.
Oh, thank you. I've done a really good job, haven't I?
Doesn't it look much better now than it did before?
It does look much better, darling, and I'm really, really grateful that you did the man's job and got it done. Thank you.
did my man's job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right.
I cooked. You hung the picture. I think we're even.
Where's my lunch?
Your lunch is in the pot.
On the stove?
Yes, I just wanted you to get a bit more hungry before you eat it. So you enjoy it more.
I'm already ravenous.
I'm pretty ravenous myself, actually.
I haven't really
eaten anything.
2 onions
I know.
And a bowl of...
I ate a bowl of muesli for breakfast, and I had a cup of coffee, and that was about it for today. Yeah.
How much sugar is in that muesli?
Well, it's not. There's no. It's not about sugar that's in the muesli. It's about the carbohydrates. You know.
Yeah, I'm not up to speed on all of the elements of everything.
Well, you've got the 3 basic food groups, right? You've got the carbohydrates, you've got the fats, and you've got the protein, yeah? Now, apparently, it's not good when you eat... Yes, when you eat simple carbohydrates too much, which are in the flour, in the pasta, white bread, brown bread, any kind of wheat, and of course in sweet things, sugar, glucose, fructose syrup, and all this stuff. So
all that horrible stuff that you should.
White rice.
Don't touch it. Not even with one of those English.
Even potatoes. Okay, even potatoes have a lot of carbohydrates. Actually, things that starchy things, starch, any kind of starch. So corn. Potatoes, bananas are quite starchy when they're not ripe, and the starch changes into sugar in bananas when they ripen. That's why they get sweet, right? That's why they're starchy when they're green, and when you eat them a week later, all the starch has changed into sugar, and they've ripened, and they're sweet, right? So
my brain has trouble processing all of that.
The fruit and vegetable sugar is okay because it comes with everything else that's in the fruit and vegetable, with the fiber, and then the body is...
Jessie's balancing a ball on her head. Sorry.
And it comes with the vitamins and everything, so that's okay for you. That's good for you. But just what we were talking about earlier, all the, the overweightness, especially the belly, the big belly up front, like I have. That's the carbohydrate belly. That's the pasta belly. They call it pasta belly, but it's actually carbohydrate belly, right?
So if you don't eat carbohydrates, does that go away?
Yes. If I stopped eating bread,
well, why don't you stop eating bread then? Get rid of it.
Why don't I stop? Because you didn't. Because it's very easy to say and it's very hard to do, especially when everybody else around you eats bread. It's just difficult.
Well, if you don't buy it, you can't eat it.
If I don't buy it, you're going to come and you're going to go, "Where's the bread? Where's the bread? I just want a piece of toast."
Why do you eat it if it's not good for you?
Habit. Thing of habit. I told you it's an addiction. I told you sugar is an addiction.
Oh, excuse me.
So as much as I try to limit sugar,
excuse me,
it works like alcohol. Okay, so you can't limit it. You can't limit it. You can either eat it or not eat it. You can't limit it. So
that's a very good analogy. Why don't you just not eat it then?
Because everybody else is eating it, and I have to make it all the time for everybody else, and it's so nice, and it's just filling. Because I'm not strong enough.
Why don't you give yourself like a 10-day challenge or something? Why don't you give yourself a 10-day challenge not to eat bread?
Why don't you do it with me?
A 10-day challenge to not eat bread.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, it's not like I need bread to survive, so...
Yeah?
Jazzy wants to go in the balcony.
Okay.
You haven't closed the gate.
I will open the balcony for you, love. I'll close this gate. Am I okay with the cable?
Sort of. In a kind of female kind of way.
Semi okay. Okay.
You're more okay than... Oh! It's freezing cold outside today. The balcony door is open and now my feet are...
Cold.
You've got socks on.
Yeah.
That's not fair. I don't have any socks on.
I have socks on.
Welcome to the conversation, Martina. Feel free to ask any questions.
Watch his nipples. Watch his nipples.
What? What are you talking about?
So they can see how cold it is out there.
I feel it on my feet. I feel it on my feet. Oh,
It is cold, yeah. Yeah,
Right.
it smells nice and fresh and everything.
It smells... What?
It smells fresh?
It smells like rain.
Exactly.
That's
Rain
not-
smells nice and fresh.
That's not smelling fresh.
It smells like fresh air. I like how the rain washes the air and then it smells clean.
You mean how it brings all the shit down out of the sky onto the ground?
Yeah.
Hmm.
You get this negative way of putting everything.
It is what it is. Right, I mean, I'm all for singing in the rain, but
Yeah, it is.
it's probably
It
not
is,
healthy
Jesse.
to get wet all the time. Right. So, kids, huh? They ask the best questions.
Absolutely, darling. I'm gonna have to stretch my.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Well, I wanted to get her tablet.
Oh,
for
that
her.
one up there.
Yeah.
Wait, don't. No, let me do it.
You stretch your bits
'Cause
then.
I've got longer arms.
Nice.
What?
Nothing wrong with my arms.
I didn't say there was anything wrong with your arms. I said I've got longer arms, not wronger.
Wrong. Yeah.
No, this is my hair.
Okay, but sweetie, I have to check it.
Wrongest. Isn't that how the grammar works?
Is that's what you've been doing in your daily email today, wasn't it?
What? Wronger, wrongest?
Yeah. You were doing the comparative and the superlative.
Superlative.
Yeah.
Yeah. For anyone interested in getting free daily language classes online, subscribe through my Facebook page to the daily masterclass, daily English language masterclass. I'm refining it. I'm working on it. It's a new project, and as long as people are interested in it, I'll put it out.
I like the
free.
masterclass. Yeah, it's very practical. It gives you, the no
My
BS.
my students have been using it.
Yeah, exactly. It's the kind of thing that you would use because they're short and they're to the point and they're clear and it's no BS. I like it.
And I'm trying to. There's going to be even less BS, bull. There's going to be even less bull in the future because I know there's mistakes with it because it doesn't have a call to action specifically. So I'm going to create a call to action for it. And
It's your own one.
and refocus. You alright down there?
Yeah. Sorry, I was just doing tablet swapsies.
Right.
Too many
If you
tablets.
listen to
in
the
this
audio,
household.
it's not going to make much sense what's just been going on, but bear with us. We'll get there. Right. 7 tips to boost your toddler's speech. We were talking about the 6 habits of highly effective parenting before. And the first one was how you communicate with your kids, how you talk to them, the language that you use. The children will mirror your language, and so you want to introduce them to a wide variety of vocabulary and phrases and persuasive and argumentative techniques. You're right there. You're don't swallow the glass.
I needed to have a drink because my throat is a bit dry.
Yeah. We don't have any juice.
Jasmine,
Why don't we have
it's
any
Jasmine's
juice?
fault. I was
That is-
cooking today. And I was on the
And-
phone as well, talking to a friend. And I haven't
Multitasking doesn't work.
And I haven't noticed that Jasmine sneaked in the fridge and took the juice
Was
bottle.
Dayna- oh, right. 'Cause
And-
Dayna, she hid in the fridge.
No. And she took the juice bottle and
She opened
next
it.
thing I found her sitting in the beanbag with an empty juice bottle. I was like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "Drinking juice out of the bottle,
She took
all
the
of
bottle.
it." Yeah, she peed a lot as well.
Thank you for sharing that with me.
So, well, that's just to say
Parenting is about.
that's just to say that she drank it. She didn't spill it somewhere. She, you know,
I was
there are
just
these
BITCHing.
there are these cues of how you know whether they actually really drank the juice or whether they've spilled it under the sofa. Okay.
Right. So otherwise you'd be like hunting around on your hands and knees looking for a wet patch.
Well, yeah. I mean, if it comes in, it needs to come out, and if it doesn't come out, then it didn't go in, right? Go and do it!
Where? She can't find it.
Put your panties off!
She can't find it.
Well, where is it?
I don't know. Don't know where the potty is. Run! Because you didn't make it last time. Don't trip over the cables. Women! Oh my gosh!
Hold it.
What did you do with it? Oh, she's lost her potty. Oh my god. Parental problems, eh? Hey, there you go. Look at that. Everything is solvable, especially when you have a small flat. You can't really hide anything anywhere, can you? Right. On to other things. We will get to it. 7 tips to boost your toddler's speech. I think we all need to get into the habit of speaking more to children, especially as they grow up and get older. And we know that they will copy the parental patterns. So we need to give children as much language as
Alright, yeah.
Tip. Can I give you a tip?
You cough before you put your microphone on. Yeah.
Right. And that's not
That
a
was
criticism.
unplanned.
It's not a criticism because I was doing it as well.
It's
earlier.
a tip.
Tip. It's a tip.
I get it.
It's not a critique.
It's not always planned.
Not a critique.
It's not always planned. Move over.
What?
Move over.
Am I in the wrong place?
Yeah. Thank you.
Is that better?
It's better, yes.
Okay. Right.
You're saying, sir,
I was.
your
Okay.
beard is really long. It needs trimming.
I'm far too hairy, so
Yeah.
yes, we should do that today. Should just take it all off. I think. Take it all off.
Oh, God.
Oh, I thought I did that quietly.
You did.
I did. I burped very quietly there. Away
Yes,
from,
you
away from
didn't
the
mask
microphone.
the smell.
It's a healthy smell. What are you talking about?
It is.
Onions are healthy. If you
Yes.
made onion soup, the whole place would smell like that.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Onion soup.
I like onion soup.
I like any kind of food, especially when I'm hungry. Right. Home cooked food. None of that processed SHIT. Right. Speaking with the kids. It's not just about speaking. I think children need to see their parents
Engaging in the conversation.
Yeah, engaging in the conversation, having the conversations, and not only that, I think reading. I think not enough kids see their parents reading books, and I think that is it's a kind of key thing, an indicator where I think that more intellectual and intelligent families do more reading. I don't have the science behind it. It's just an observation.
You know, I always used to ask my mum when I was a kid because I enjoyed reading so much. And sometimes she would sit on the sofa and you know, she'd be kind of laid back and reading a book, but it didn't happen very often. It was really seldom that it happened. And I remember asking her why she doesn't read more. And I remember telling me that her telling me that she doesn't have time. Right?
Okay.
So fast forward a few years, right? And I still read books, but usually in the evening, and I usually fall asleep while doing it. So I get through about like.
What is that thing? What is that thing where you read like a couple of pages and you start yawning and your eyes
then you
start
just
closing?
fall because you're tired. That's called
if the book is
tiredness,
interesting,
exhaustion.
But if the book is interesting, you shouldn't have that kind of response. No, but even if the book is interesting, I still have that kind of response.
Look, did you or did you not like Hamish Macbeth?
The TV series?
Yes.
I did. I enjoyed it.
Did you fall asleep while watching it several times?
Well, now that you've said that, I guess I probably did, although I can't really remember.
Yes. as well as you did with the other series that we watched, the Once Upon a Time.
I give in late in the evening.
It's just you're tired. You're tired. Your brain needs sleep, right? I mean, if you're doing FO all day, then you can stay up late and read until 2 o'clock in the morning. I mean, I did that in Scotland because I had much less work than here. You know, when we went for a holiday to Scotland and I finally got to read a book, and I would stay up until like 2 o'clock in the morning, and then I couldn't get everything I could find.
Oh, okay.
Because I was so deprived.
In my parents' house. Oh my God. I have a good library.
Well, I went to the library as well in Elgin, you know.
Oh, okay.
I found some King books, but I read them all before I went. King books.
King books.
King books.
So I heard kink.
No, or I bought my own in the boot
king?
sales. What else did I read? Oh, there were a few good books that I picked up and read.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so
you're derailing the conversation.
Sorry.
Similar to the way that I derail it.
Yeah, you read. You read when you're a parent. You read, but you don't read as much as you would like to because there's just no time. It's still good to read and for the kids to see you reading, though.
Lack of time.
Yeah.
Okay, so ways to boost your toddler's speech. Number 1, describe everything.
Oh my God!
Are you okay?
Do you remember that guy?
Are you okay? What
Do you remember that guy?
What are you talking
We
about?
lived in Rastoka, and we had a garden, and we had the sheep and everything. And this guy used to come in with his son, right? And this guy was a teacher, right? Do you remember the guy?
Oh, the couple of houses down. They lived in Peterson.
Yeah. They lived in Peterson, and they came, for the holiday in the summer.
They just walked randomly into our garden.
Yeah, they walked randomly into our garden, and they asked, "Oh, we've seen the sheep through the fence, from the other side, and could we come and have a closer look at them?" And I was like, "Okay." So we kind of became, familiar with each other, and they came to visit us more, and we talked about homeschooling because they were interested in homeschooling. And he just wouldn't stop talking to the kid. I mean, they would go up there and he would just describe everything constantly. Do you remember that?
I think I've blocked that out. Although it does ring a bell.
I found it a bit extreme, but maybe
some people
it's not. Maybe it's a good idea, And he would just be describing everything and be like, "Oh, look, there's a purple flower over there. Let's pick it up." And "Oh, we picked up the purple flower. Let's have a look at it." And it was just.
In general, in general, people who talk a lot, you just wish that they'd be quiet, and people who don't talk much, you wish that they would say more, right? That's kind of how it works.
Yeah, I guess so.
So. Describe everything.
That was description in practice. That was like he described everything.
Explain where you are.
Say what you're doing.
But as a teacher, you said he was a teacher, right?
Must be a teacher's thing.
There you go, right? Teachers tend to want to explain everything.
I think he was even a teacher of teachers.
Fork out of the drawer, and I'm putting the fork on the table. Can you see how I am doing this? Engage, capture attention.
Yeah.
Right?
I would be exhausted after about an hour of doing that, by the way.
I've been exhausted after 5 minutes of listening to him. Explain where you are, what you're doing, where you're going, what you can see. Describe life as a toddler may see it. Describe what toddlers are. Describe what is interesting for things in the way that you see it, and maybe you try to see things from their perspective as well. But the descriptions, they help fill in a lot of the spaces in the language for the children, I think.
Yeah.
So Will's trying to get attention now by making
it makes sense, though. It makes sense.
Anyway.
I mean, if you want children to learn how to talk, you have to
model the talking yourself.
You have to tell them how to say certain things, right? If you don't do this and say, "Look, I have a remote control," they have no way of knowing what this is.
Oh, that's where it is. Thank you. Right. Let's put it back. Okay. Second tip to boost toddlers' speech: ask questions. Even if children cannot reply, ask questions. Give them the model of the concept and the idea. Include intonation, rising intonation, so they understand it's a real question and that a response is required. So even though children, and I think we do that naturally. I think a lot of parents do that naturally. They even sometimes provide kind of answers from the kid's perspective for the kids as well. And so I think those are natural things to do. Describe the environment. Talk about what you can see. It also teaches observational skills. It teaches people to learn to see. I think you have to learn to see things, right? We kind of think it's automatic what goes on.
I'm sorry, but is Jasmine sitting on the potty? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
She is over
Just
there.
checking.
Right. Well, meanwhile, Will's got his finger halfway up his nose. Right. Again. There we go. Well, you can go to your room and do 101 million things there.
Push-ups, for example, 101 million push-ups.
Yeah, to start with.
That would take.
Yeah.
That would take 6 weeks.
Yes. Okay.
Well, you better get started.
Okay. Next, number 3 is tell stories. So to capture the imagination of the children, and it doesn't have to be a made-up story. It's like I did earlier today. I told the story of going to the swimming pool. I think I can tell the stories about events and things that happen.
You know, I've read somewhere that it's actually better for very young children to tell them stories that they're children. Yes, that they are toddlers. Basically, we're talking about toddlers, right? To tell them stories from real life that they can relate to, right? So rather than telling them about a Little Red Riding Hood or a whatever, Cinderella, they say that they will enjoy more stories that they can relate to. So if you talk about a little girl who went to have lunch and had a pea soup, then that's more suitable for toddlers rather than.
Well, you could also relate the different stories together as well. You could say like, "Oh, that reminds me of the Cinderella story," and you can relate the kind of. I
think this is a part of Montessori philosophy. I'm not sure, but I came across it in a Montessori forum. Okay, and I must admit that I don't fully agree with that. Okay. It may be true with very young children, but I think that, from the age of before 3, you can start working on the kids' imagination with things that they are not familiar with, so that they can imagine it. So that, because if you only talk about things that they're familiar with, then they know what it is and what it looks like. But if you talk to them about things that they don't know anything about and introduce it to them, like dragons and castles and fairies and leprechauns or whatever, then the imagination starts going, and then they start to imagine things that are beyond what they already know. So
I like those stories about dragons and
me
castles.
too. I don't think it's completely useless. I think it challenges the imagination more than a story about Johnny who went shopping and bought a loaf of bread.
Why did he buy bread?
Because he was probably addicted to carbohydrates.
Naughty Johnny.
And he needed to buy something cheap that will satiate his hunger.
Satiate, I think.
Satiate.
Is the pronunciation. Anyway.
Sachet, E8.
Yes. Well, final warning, because you're jumping up and down behind the camera here and really getting on my nerves. So you know the rule. When we're recording, you give us a little bit of space, okay? Thank you very much.
Next.
Yes, be positive. Next is be positive. Talking and speaking is not just about giving orders or telling people off. Make speaking fun by picking out positive elements of what is happening. And so we already talked about that a little bit today. You brought up the fact that I was being negative, and you suggested that I should be more positive in the language that I use. I think it's definitely true that the positive perspective leads to more positive things happening.
Yes.
It's just having that kind of optimistic outlook can be very, very helpful in life. And the other way just kind of leads to depression, basically. So you do need to have a generally positive outlook.
I know that you often put into opposition the rationality and optimism. I know that you kind of think that optimism and realism basically are the opposites, right? And I do get it. Is that true? Sorry, maybe I'm misinterpreting your words.
Keep going.
Okay.
I will listen.
And I think it is very important to have a rational view of reality, right? The way things really are. And I think it is also important to be aware of all the negative results that can occur, right? Because obviously that makes that helps you be prepared for when how do you say it politely? When it hits the fan, right?
The SH.
Yes. But being positive in thinking and in speech, because I think talking is thinking and thinking is talking, right? I think it perpetuates each other. You know what I mean?
I know what you're trying to say.
Okay. Is important for just what you said, for a positive outcome of things. Because if you expect, you're more likely to gravitate towards positive results if that's what you visualize, if that's what you want, right? To focus on the positive, which you basically said before as well. Not sure if you said it today, but I know that to a certain extent you have that view of reality as well.
Okay, well, final warning.
So
there we go.
Yeah, it's like with the smiling, right? It's like you smile because you're happy, but I have read somewhere that when you smile, even when you're not happy, that you can fool your hormones, and the more you smile, the happier you become. I don't know if that works. Obviously, it doesn't work for clinical depression.
But you can fool your hormones.
Yeah, that when you smile, just when you engage the muscles of your face in that way, you can actually make yourself feel better and happier because those muscles are connected to the feeling of happiness, so you can recreate it by engaging the muscles to a certain extent. Obviously not if you're depressed and grieving and whatever, but to a certain extent.
Don't worry, just smile, eh? Might never happen.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm not sure I'm not sure whether that works, but it would make sense,
well,
right?
I can relate
because
something
the connection
to that.
is there in the brain.
Well, my old singing teacher told me that you sing better when you smile.
Okay.
Because it's you get that the emotion comes out, the feeling comes out. There's a sense to things, and you if you look at opera singers, right, they very much look like they're smiling a lot of the time because
with their mouth wide open.
Well,
which is a bit freaky.
You know what I'm trying to say,
yes,
right?
I know.
Okay, I was just going to skip on. I'm not going to get out of that one, right? Okay. Now I've heard other people. The next one is avoid baby talk. I've heard other people talk about this as well, saying that the gaga goo goo na na la 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 stuff that is all not really positive for kids. Now, I think a little bit of anything is okay, right?
Yeah.
But if people overdo it,
I couldn't avoid it. I honestly tried. And I couldn't avoid it very much because sometimes when the kid talks to you back in their cute, funny little fashion and made up words that don't normally exist, you just can't help it and repeat it back sometimes, right? Like when Will used to say pint instead of spoon, right? When he was about 2.5.
I like that word.
And he used to say pint. And I would just say, okay, here's your pint, and I would call it that. And
I like that word. We should change the word spoon to pint. It's a much
reminded me
nicer
of
word.
pint. You probably spell it the same way. It's pint, right?
Yeah, that's irrelevant though. It's just a nice word.
Anyway, yeah. So sometimes you just can't help it, and you just have to talk back to them.
Yeah, and also we have to remember
that
children understand a lot more than we think they understand from a very early age. So there's not much point in dumbing down.
I mean, look at the
conversation.
look at the diminutives in Slovak language. Okay, in English it's pretty boring because you have a spoon and you have a little spoon, right? I mean, you have a duck and you have a little duck. But in Slovak,
I don't have any ducks.
and you have in Slovak, you kind of make the word much more difficult when you make a diminutive, because you can either have lyžica or lyžička, right? You can have dievča or dievčatko. You can have I know. You can have nožík and nožíček. You have ponožka and ponoštička. So it's when you've got a ponoštička is obviously extremely, but quite difficult to pronounce for a 2-year-old, right? And yet people use diminutives with toddlers because they're so cute that you can't help it. Okay.
Well, I can thing.
And they still, yeah, I know.
Might or might not tend towards
because our kids are bilingual, I always made a point of not using the diminutives, because I didn't want to give them even more to have to process than they already have to process. But it doesn't really matter because all the kids, like lots of the kids, use diminutives before they learn to use the basic word. A lot of them don't even know the basic word; they only know the diminutive, right? Like. Will still doesn't know that dievčatko is the same thing as dievča, right?
Okay.
So
a lot of people don't. Right, I think the kids are gonna need us in a little bit, so we're gonna have a countdown. We're gonna slide through the last couple very quickly.
Do you think people can hear the Beethoven?
I don't know if people can hear you can check it on the rebroadcast if Beethoven is audible in the background.
If we can hear the Beethoven, it's Jasmine.
It's signs of success. Okay.
Jasmine learned how to play Beethoven at the age of 2.5.
Yeah, let's not get into the POTTY stuff.
Okay.
Right. Gesture more. It has been shown that nonverbal communication also matters hugely to children's understanding. Of course, you need to show things with your hands to explain your big and small and size and shape and square and circle and yawn.
Yeah, sorry. Is that? Do you think that's why I gesture a lot when I get all agitated about saying something?
I have no idea why you gesture a lot. I imagine you get it from your parents. I mean, to be honest. I think that
maybe because they gestured. See?
Yeah. Okay. Right. Anyway, let's conclude with stop and listen. So, listen to your kids. If you want to have a conversation, if you want them to learn to talk, then you also have to teach them the listening skill as well. All conversations have 2 parts. All communication involves speaking and listening. And remember, you learn more when you listen.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's something to stay focused on, which is a nice point to conclude on. Right, as usual, it's been fun presenting the information to you. Thank you very much for joining us online. You can get in touch with us through www.nsa-slovakia.com, the Academy of Language Therapy and Life Coaching on Facebook and YouTube. There's a Pinterest page as well. You can pick up the Practical Parenting weekly newsletter with lots of tricks and tips and other stuff that's there. I also have 2 other newsletters that go out, the Female Email for personal coaching and the Daily English Language Masterclass. And
if you guys would like to know, or if you guys need some support, some guidance, or some more information on peaceful parenting, on how to do things with respect when it comes to parenting, when it comes to communication with your children, if you have problems with your kids that you just don't know how to solve in your
life.
in your relationship with the kids, you can go to 21centurymum, spelled MUM.com, and register for our free webinar, Amazing Parenting, that we
doing a free webinar?
We are doing it, and we're doing it completely for free,
And
we're working our asses on it, so we would like you guys there.
Working our asses off on it, not working our asses on it. That's something different, darling.
Yes. So yes, we're doing both of those. I think. So even if you don't have any problems and you just want more information, or just more of us, or more of my weird English, which can be
all over the place, and usually it
all
is
over the place.
There we go.
Accidentally amusing. Then just go to the page.
It wasn't meant to be funny.
Go to the 21centurymum, spelled MUM.com.
Okay, yeah, and please like, subscribe, share, do all that stuff. If you share the stuff on the internet, it's really cool. We really appreciate that. Remember, you can leave questions for us in the comments on Facebook or YouTube, or wherever you find the podcast. So, thanks very much for tuning in, and we'll be back again soon. We're going to say bye to people on Facebook. And
thank you for
people
listening
on the podcast. Thank you very much, guys. I can't find the arrow as usual. Click on finish. There we go. Bye-bye.
Bye.
There we go. That's that done.
Bye, everybody on YouTube.
Over here on the YouTube.
Thanks for watching, and thanks for listening.
Sweet. Stay cool. See you soon.